That's just your opinion, man.
Welcome to the Beat Around the Bench podcast about woodworking, good times, and general jackassery. With your hosts, Jess of Just Build It, Colton of Cold Crit, and Ross of RNC Woodworking and Designs. You can find us all on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. In this week's episode, we go deep down the Shark-nado rabbit hole. Jess sees all of his work washed away. Colton talks about Lacquer being a booger, and Ross goes into overdrive on productivity. All of that and more is coming right up on this episode of the Beat Around the Bench podcast. Now for episode 76, the Beech Labowski.
Good call. Good call on
Yes.
that.
Thank you,
Call
sir.
on that.
Yes. The Beech Labowski. Oh,
The dude abides.
well, very well executed use of beech,
Thank you.
I will say. Yeah.
Isn't that what they make Coors?
It is Beechwood aged Budweiser.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
That's what.
Wouldn't
Yeah, I
as far
watched-
as, to go as far as say he was a hero, but he was definitely a person, a man in the right time, in place.
He's a dude.
He was
Yeah,
a dude.
A dude
He was
in
the
right
dude.
place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, Jess, I'm glad
It's
to
just
see you
your
not
opinion.
swimming right now,
Yes.
man.
Yes. It
So
has been a
Florida,
whirlwind.
Florida was just hit with a huge hurricane, right?
Yes. It
What was the name of this one?
Helene. So
Helene.
it didn't even hit us, but the east side's where all the storm surge is. And so it came, it's odd because, I guess they kind of come more at a sharper angle normally, right? And then it kind of hits like either that or it swoops over and like hits Texas or whatever. But this one kind of headed for like, I would call it like Tallahassee, and which isn't on the coast, obviously, but it was very close to our coast. And we got 8-foot storm surge.
Now, the
So-
last time there was a hurricane that hit, and it hit head on to Tampa, I remember because my mother-in-law lives down in Sarasota greater area,
Right?
and I remember all of Tampa Bay was completely sucked out to the Gulf, and it was
Right.
totally dry,
Different.
and then the storm surge came in. Was that the similar setup of what happened here?
No, this one, it was all push.
Hmm.
It was all push. It just, everybody was like, oh, it's up to the seawall. Oh, it's in our living room in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we were literally at a customer's house. I had made them some stuff a long time ago, and we were adding on to this bed. We were making it a queen size bottom bunk for their younger son who was kind of outgrown the other one and kind of like turning it the other way. So I was taking some final measurements, talking to her about what I was going to do, trying to come up with some ideas to make it easy. And I said, you leaving for the hurricane? And I mean, the water's like, I'm looking at the Gulf. Well, not the Gulf, but the canal off the Gulf.
Mhm.
They got their backyard, Tampa Bay. And this is in Clearwater.
Okay.
And she's like, no, we're staying. She's like, we've been through a bunch of these. All right.
Yeah.
So, and her husband was in Hawaii to like his cousin's wedding, and her kids were all older, so they're like teenagers. And I messaged her after the storm. I said, "So what happened?" And she said, 2 foot of water in the house. And so they saw it, and then within 30 minutes of like it seeing up the seawall in the back, because they have a dock out back, it was 2 feet up their couch.
Man.
So they left, and they were able to get the cars off the higher ground and get them out of there. And then within days, like he got back like the next day, and they started tearing out stuff. And so we started messaging everybody that we knew that was on the water, all our customers, and all of them lost everything off the ground. Every bit of bottom cabinets I put in the past 2 years are gone.
Dude, could you imagine
So-
being the husband there and like you're out of town and your
Oh, yeah,
wife's
he came
texting
back
you
as
that
soon
you
as
have
he
2
saw
feet
it.
of water? Like,
As soon as he could fly in, he flew back. But
Yeah.
and then they have already cut all the drywall out in the bottom, and
you say it's a
no.
2-story house?
no, that was a 1-story.
Oh, yeah.
So
You got to leave.
they left, and the lady, our first cabinets, I don't know if you guys remember where we had somebody else install them and they messed them up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went back and fixed it. She's in St. Pete. Same thing again. They're gone again. And so, fortunately, all of these people have flood insurance. But I mean, you know how many people are filing their? It's all through FEMA because that's the only people that write it. It might be underwritten by another insurance company, but it's all through FEMA. So only up to 250,000 too. That's all FEMA will write up flood insurance. So most of those people are going to spend a lot of it. I mean, you think about everything that's on your ground floor that can't get salt water in it. All your appliances, your lawnmowers, your cars, you know, like everything. Obviously, your homeowners wouldn't pay for your car, but and everybody is doing it all at the same time. Everybody's doing it all at the same time. Think about it. So we're going to have a lot of cabinets to do. Our construction side of our business is going to pick up, but we're really going to cater more. You know, I'm not going to be doing mediation where we're just doing drywall. You know, we're going to be doing more to it where there's more content that we're going to be replacing.
Are you going to end up doing like flooring for people and cabinets and trim work and all the finishing stuff?
Yes,
not me personally, but
well,
the goal.
Be wary. Like if it's FEMA who's going to pay you.
No,
I've not experienced in person, but
no, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, they're not paying you. Okay, because I know when our company has worked with FEMA in the past, like we won't work with FEMA anymore. It sounds really bad, but whenever FEMA doesn't pay you, it's really bad for.
No, basically, what happens in a situation like this is that FEMA will be like, well, their insurance company. Forget about FEMA. Their insurance company. They'll get an adjuster out there and they'll just write them some like random check. Like the customer will have already kind of figured out, or the policyholder will have already kind of figured out, like, here's an item on my list. And they're like, well, $50,000 get you going. And they'll be like, yes. And that's not the final check, though. That's not like signed, sealed. That's all you're ever going to get. And so then that way they can start to like get floors in and they can start, you know, if they need to pay to have it dried out or whatever they got to do so they can start living. Because a lot of people, I don't know if it's on flood, but you know that they got to pay for them to stay in another place, and like all that stuff's part of your policy.
But this is a dumb question, and I apologize for kind of delving down this rabbit hole, but not having to live through this kind of stuff in Illinois, I'm unaware, other than tornadoes. But like, if all the hotels in the area also dealt with the same kind of issue, where does everybody go?
Well, all the hotels aren't on the water. So it's pretty much anything that was below, 8 to 10 foot sea level. So some of the hotels closed, some of them are open, and they're used to this kind of stuff. Plus, there's a million houses that are not on the water that are Airbnbs and houses for rent, and anybody that's got an Airbnb is opening it up to people that need a house for a couple months, right, and giving special rates.
Yeah,
those people I was just telling you about, they found a house the next day. She found a house to rent right 5 minutes away. So they just gave them some money and moved in, and it was furnished. So this town is used to it. They know how to handle it. You know what I mean? Like the city's in hours is cleaning up. They've already brought 500 trucks from other companies around the country here to fix the powers before the power's even gone out. They're
strangely enough, when I was in Louisiana a couple weeks ago, I stayed at a Marriott hotel in Baton Rouge, and there was a hurricane that had just come through the day before I got there.
Right.
And all the power guys who would come from all different places. It was basically one company, but they had 150 trucks all parked at this Marriott. And I talked to some of the guys, and they said they literally just chase storms because they get time and a half or double time for all the work they do.
Yeah.
And they hate when they're done and have to go home because they're like, you can't make money sitting on the couch. So they're going to be real excited chasing, everything that happened after this storm all the way up.
It takes a long time.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. So the kitchen we put in a few months ago, July, I think it was, the whole bottom of it's toast. All the appliances are toast. And, he's like, it is what it is, like he had like a really nice golf cart, like one of those 4-wheel drive ones,
Yeah.
It's all gone. And he's like, you just keep seeing stuff like, oh yeah, this is running. Oh yeah. Like, your lawn's gone. Like everything's gone. And he's like, it's going to take months. We're not going to move back in here for months. We're staying with, family and stuff in town.
On a separate side, when stuff gets washed away, is it kind of like a finders keepers situation?
People get really weirded out by that. Like you take that crap and you put it out, your trash, like out on your lawn, and then people go through it and like people have a problem with that. And I'm like, it's trash. Like if somebody wants to take your trash, let them take it.
Well, I was actually thinking like that 4-wheeler, let's say, for example, or the golf cart. But like, say it washed like 2 blocks away. Could somebody feasibly be like, oh, this just showed up in the storm?
I suppose so. Yeah. But like saltwater's bad news bears for anything.
Yes.
Like it's just a matter of time for anything that has any kind of steel or electronics or anything to go. Even your car. Like even if it didn't go all the way up in your car, salt water on all that stuff,
It'll totally kill like a Tesla or any kind of electric car.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen then. It happens because like there was a Lamborghini that got flooded and it drove over the Skyway after and it caught on fire and it melted. And they don't even put it out because they can't. They just let it burn. Because lithium batteries doesn't matter. You have to use halon.
Yeah.
But then as soon as they get that out, another cell goes off, it's called thermal runaway. So he drove it thinking it was okay, and it was not. Actually, one of the pieces of furniture that I had built for her that she wants me to salvage years ago at that place, there was black soot on the back. So the surge protector, when the water finally receded, well, it actually did take long. They hadn't got the power off yet because they weren't there. And it was going to start a fire. Unfortunately, she caught it in time. Yeah.
Do you guys actually get like sea creatures washing up on land in some of those surges? Do you have like
fish. That's a good question.
Do you get like Shark-nados coming in? Like
I've seen some fish in people's lawns before, not recently, but I've seen some.
Yeah.
I mean, like in the people's houses, it's all like crusty seashells and junk and silt. It's disgusting. It smells like fish.
Honestly, sewage too. I mean, it's going. Yeah. It's or at least in Houston, we have that problem.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But aside from that, we moved right after the hurricane, got a U-Haul, and that took a minute, but we were able to get the one that we had reserved. And the girls checked us out on their phone, and we moved. And I have been working on this house for so long now. I do have all my cabinets in. They're not finished, but they're in enough for them to temp with the countertops.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. Almost basically all of my trim is in and painted, and the walls are painted, and all my lights are in, and the floors, and my appliances are in, and my closet doors, which was quite an undertaking. My bypass closet doors, and they're gorgeous, and I'm really excited about that. So, and here's the biggest news.
What's the biggest news?
I bought a new truck.
What?
Brand new truck. So the old Chevy Trail Boss, the one that's like Daniel Dunlap's, started burning oil, and we thought it was an oil leak, and we've always thought it was an oil leak until I realized it was not an oil leak, and it was burning like a quart a month of oil, which is a lot. Yeah. And it doesn't smoke. Not really. And it also had some electrical problems that would flare up, but nobody could ever figure out what it was because it like doesn't stay going, like check engine lights and stuff. And so my wife's like, it's time to just trade it in. I know you're a little upside down on it, but just trade it in. So I was looking at used ones. She's like, you're not buying another used car. You're buying it. So I was like, well, I was looking at diesels, but they were so expensive. And we had some friends at Walker Ford that we've used a lot. So the F-250s come with a 7.3 liter V8 that'll tow 18,000 pounds. And I was like, well, that'll work. And it gets okay gas mileage, just as good as a diesel. Plus, I don't have to pay for diesel. So That's what I bought. 4-wheel drive crew cab F-250.
No,
and it is,
you're driving an F-250 now?
Yeah.
Oh, dude!
And it is like, it is
so
glorious.
Much wood.
It is so glorious. And the seats are so comfortable. I just love it. I just love it to death. Got more room, and I can tow my trailer like it's not even on there now.
Does it have any of like that wood trim inside the cab?
No, I mean those ones that like, so like what is it? A bighorn or
a longhorn or
longhorn, whatever.
The King Ranch.
King Ranch. There we go.
100 G's, 100 G's, man, to start. To start, like if you can find one for under 90, and that's $2,000 a month with perfect credit. That's like a lot of money. And I'm not doing that. So this one was much more affordable. And I just sit and look at it. And I got a tonneau cover. Oh, but I got him to throw in the carpeted bed liner. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. The whole bed is carpet, exterior carpet.
Why would one want that versus the plastic bed liner?
Because when you're hauling cabinets and stuff, it doesn't scratch anything.
That makes sense.
And nothing slides. Your tools don't slide around. And for what I do, it's perfect. So, and it's still like exterior kind of carpet, and it's molded to the sides and everything. I've seen it on some custom trucks before. When I worked at that car place during COVID, there was a brand of them. As it turns out, Ford makes it. I mean, you can get it from FordAccessories.com. But they threw that in, so I'll be able to finally haul my tools around, like back and forth to my house and to jobs. And if it's raining, I got a cover now, and it won't mess up.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very nice.
To bring it back to woodworking a little bit, I had a question. So whenever you see these vehicles that have like a thin like wood part of like the dash, like the kind of the interior
veneer,
right?
Yes.
Is it like
Yes.
so? It's never like where you can like touch and feel the grain, right? It's always like behind.
No, it's real wood. Some of them are real.
I'm saying, is it real wood? Yeah,
it
like
is.
a real veneer
with a resin and a fiberglass backing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they are real.
Yeah. Oh,
I
so
actually met a guy that used to make them.
I guess it would be resin. So you're saying it's resin, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they usually have a fiberglass backing to keep it from warping.
Yep.
And it's got a resin, and it's all polished up. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. So Crystal's mom, her car,
The Slumlord.
yes, she has a Mercedes, and inside of that there's like this like part of the interior is wood grain. I think it's some sort of like ebony or something. It's kind of crazy. I should send a picture to you guys. See what you think
so
it is.
strangely enough, when I was down in Florida and visited Jess's shop, the rental car they gave us was a Mercedes as well, and I don't know why. They were out of all other SUVs. They're like, take this Mercedes. I was like, oh darn.
I figured you'd have the points because you travel so much.
Yeah, I do have the status for it. But either way, it was like a zebra wood inside.
Oh,
very cool.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah. Did you know zebra wood's only zebra wood when it's quarter sawn?
How about that?
What is it?
It looks like brown. It's just like brown if it's not.
Yeah.
Zebra wood's only zebra wood when it's quarter sawn.
That is
you
a
ever
good
look at it?
Nugget. That's a cool fact.
We did Zebrano. We did zebra wood before. It was one of the first wood we ever did.
That's true.
The first wood we ever did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you see Baxter? He's my co-host. I don't know. If
we cannot see him as of yet.
There you go. Can you see him?
Oh,
now?
the turtle swimming around back there.
Yeah. So you see those are wall cabinets I turned into a fish tank.
See, I wonder what the dripping water sound was behind you in your new house, but the turtle aquarium explains it.
Yes, that's Baxter. Ashley's had him since he was about the size of a quarter.
Yeah?
So he's 17 years old, yeah.
Wow.
Baxter.
That's
Can
fun.
you please make it to where Baxter is in your background at all times? Not this episode. Like, figure it out with your desk later.
I don't know if I can. I did get the thing that I burned in the background.
The laser.
Yeah, I see that. I saw that. That looks great.
Piece of oak.
Come on, Baxter.
Ashley
you know I
says it
don't
has
speak
to-
Spanish.
Like, once we actually do get some video up from this podcast, like for YouTubes and all that, that would be hilarious. I'd love to watch Baxter. It'd be like, Colton, we asked you a question. I'm like, oh, sorry, I was watching Baxter swimming around. But
what? You broke in the refrigerator and ate an entire brick of cheese? I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
So I don't speak Spanish. It was cool. Right before we moved from that other place, there's like a backyard that has a fence, like a chain fence. There's like a big area of the rest of our lot, and they cleared out some of it just to keep it cleared out. And a tortoise, I should say, decided to lay eggs, and so she dug like a hole.
Yep.
And she just kind of sat there, and you could go walk up right up to her because she wasn't going to leave them. Once they're hatched, she leaves them like abandons. Terrible mother. But in the meantime, they stay with that. And like Buddy would get right up to the chain link fence, and she would just sit there and look at him. So it was cool. We named her Charlie, and we talked to her every day. Huh. So she left her in the storm. I'm hoping she came back. But there's a lot of turtles in this area and in that area, leatherbacks and all kind of different.
I like turtles.
So strangely enough, one of my favorite people that I had met at the first time actually
was a Ninja Turtle,
where all of us met, is my buddy Brett from Cascade Create, who's out in Oregon, I believe. And he actually has like a 30-year-old tortoise that's like a Galapagos style tortoise. Like it's a huge one.
Oh, wow.
And he has to have like a big habitat for it. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really neat. I really love turtles too.
30 years old. That's a commitment to a pet, man.
Oh, dude, they live to like 100.
Yes, they do.
Oh.
Sea turtles live. They're not even sure. Like a sea turtle usually just gets killed by something before it really lives its whole life.
As we all learned in Finding Nemo, Crush was 150, dude.
Yeah, they are. So it's like the slower the metabolism, the longer they live, right? Like squirrels don't live a long time.
There are actually some sharks up in Greenland that live up in the Arctic Ocean that are older than the United States.
Yes. Well, so what is it called? Green something.
The Greenland shark.
Yeah, the Greenland shark.
Yeah.
I watched Dirty Jobs where they were autopsying one.
Oh, that sounds very smelly.
Yes.
Well, I think in all honesty, I would like to hear a little bit more from Colton and what have you, but I think I want to test Jess's, kind of get him back into the swing of things. So maybe we should learn about the hood of the week. You up for that, Jess?
Sure.
Jump in, baby.
Sure.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Hood of the week.
So I had a customer reach out today, and there's a restaurant, I guess, or something.
There's a lot of them, actually.
There's this old door, and a contractor called me, and he's like, "Can you make doors?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "It's an odd size. It's 36 by 84." And I said, "All right." And he said they want
single door,
single door, 84.
84 height. I thought width for a second. I was like, "Good Lord." No.
And the house is very, very old, and they want to replace it with like I would call it like something you'd see in a castle or something. And they want like a little door that opens to put wine out. I don't know why. I didn't ask questions. So he sent me pictures of this one. It's basically just square with a frame and like a little window that like opens, like at a castle gate, like that kind of funny thing. And
go away before I taunt you a second time.
Yes. And so as far as I can tell, it is alder. It is naughty alder, which is a very rustic looking one. So this week's Wood of the Week is very naughty alder, or superior alder, also called red alder or western red alder. So they sell it in two different ways. In the superior or clear or naughty, right? So if you're going for that rustic look, they use naughty alder. It is as boring as cherry, but it is exceptionally easy to work with because it's only 590 on the Janka hardness scale. It's also it grows pretty quick. The trees grow pretty big and like 130 feet tall, 2 to 3 foot trunk diameter. And it's cheap. I mean, I can buy 8-quarter naughty alder for $2.60 a board foot and superior alder for around $4. So it's a great wood for things like this, like building doors and stuff that are going to get painted. It also stains really well because the grain, the sapwood, and the heartwood. Well, there you go. Is that alder?
So yes, what I'm holding up, and those of you who are listening cannot see, but the project I made for my senior year wood shop in high school final project was a guitar that I stained blue, and it is made out of alder because I could not afford mahogany or maple at the time.
Right.
Did you have any knots in it that you had to like fill or anything? Or
superior alder shouldn't have any knots.
Hold on.
Oh, so you're saying Superior doesn't have knot? Everything I just Googled
much less. Much less.
So go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that alder's also softer, so that it's actually better to have a softer wood sometimes in instruments, right?
That is correct.
Like they're making like things out of spruce on guitars, like the backs and stuff like that. Spruce is like super
because you want the resonance.
Right? So red alder is usually not having anything to do with being outside because it is very prone to decay and rot. They consider it a perishable wood.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have seen exterior doors in Florida made out of alder, but they have like an epoxy coating on them.
Either that or like 8 layers of shellac.
Sure,
spar urethane.
Spar urethane. But if you want that look, you want that look. I just don't think it's really good for something that's going to get a lot of use. But it's also not super heavy. So, like, if you have a really big giant door and you want it to look rustic, alder is like kind of a good choice because pine tends to want to warp worse than alder.
Yeah.
The sapwood and the heartwood and alder looks the same for the most part. It doesn't have like a walnut where it goes from blonde to dark.
Did you guys ever happen to look up the door I told you about on TikTok, the Valhalla door?
Yeah.
Dude, Jess, if you didn't,
I like the mechanics of it, dude.
It's ridiculous. But
just the mechanics alone.
Basically, for those who are listening, if you happen to have TikTok or just Google it, Valhalla door, it is literally a 18 foot tall by 10 foot wide solid oak door. And they wanted cast iron hardware to be able to use a normal key to open up this massive door. And this blacksmith is the one who's putting together the entire series on TikTok. But it is, if you are into epic builds like that, it does not get too much more epic than that.
That's really big.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how heavy it is.
Yeah, they have a smaller door in that door. It's kind of like this wine door is, but it's a normal size door that you can walk through, so you don't have to open an 18 foot tall by 10 foot wide wall each time you want to go in. Be like, oh, I forgot my wallet inside. Whoops.
I gotcha.
It's like some Lord of the Rings kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like some sort of fantasy book like that. Yeah. I love the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
I busted open a several 100-year-old armoire lock the other day. Well,
yeah.
I'd say the other day, like maybe 2 months ago, almost at this point. And this is the one that I had talked so much like on the finishing, but like busting. So like the lock wasn't working right, and the key was a rather simple key. It had like 2 teeth going vertically down, right off of the main, I guess, spindle you want to call it.
Yeah.
And one was thin, one was
an old school like skeleton key style.
Yes, and then one key would work, and then so she had 2 keys. One key would work, one key wouldn't, and they looked identical. But like once I really got down and like measured each part of it, the front tooth on the first one, the one that wouldn't work, was like a little bit smoothed over on one edge. And like breaking it apart and seeing the engineering of stuff that was made hundreds of years ago is insane. It's like they didn't have computers; they couldn't Google how to make this. Like they didn't have CNC equipment. They didn't have electricity.
They would apprentice for like 10 years and learn everything they could.
Right? Like this stuff was like beaten and like out of sheets of metal. And it was incredible to tear it apart and see their engineering and to really figure it out. But I did get the lock put back together, and I actually cut a new key for her with a Dremel, and it works amazing. And that was a cool experience. But
nice.
Yeah, the locks, and then like so the mechanics tying back to this Valhalla door. That's the next level stuff, though. That's not something I could just take apart in one day and figure out.
No, sir.
I could figure it out, but it'd take more than one day.
Well, anyway, I thought it would be good to talk about a wood that, a lot of us can get our hands on. I know we talk about a lot of crazy ones, right?
We do.
That nobody will ever see. This one's pretty common. It's also used a lot in chipboard and pulpwood. They use it for that kind of stuff. It's one of the leftover parts of it, along with pine and some other ones.
It's also a filler for poplar if you can't find poplar for painting face frames and door frames and what have you.
Yes, it doesn't move a lot. Once it's dried, it kind of tends to stay, which is one of the reasons why. It's easy to work with. Carvers like it. Turners like it. So, and it's not expensive. And it's readily available because it grows right in the United States. So
I hear about alder a lot, right? Like people using it, but I've never actually worked with it myself. I've never had an application where I pulled it out. Like it's not my basic wood.
It's very rustic if you get the naughty kind. Very rustic.
It is similar in texture and workability to cherry.
Okay.
So. Yep.
Anyway.
Well, that's fun. I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
Y'all ever work with elm much? That's another one I hear about that I've never worked with. And
so I will say elm, when you first look at it, it looks real blah. Like not a whole lot going on. It just kind of like, especially silver elm, it kind of just when it grays, kind of like oak does. And even when you plane it down, you're like, nothing really changed. As soon as you hit it with finish, it's like it arrived at the party. Yeah, exactly. Literally.
Yeah.
I actually have a few of my YouTube videos that you can check out that are also made out of elm that they're real boring up until I get finish on them. And then it's just like, whoa, I don't know where that came from. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to use it. I'd like to work with it.
Yeah. It's really nice to work with, I will say.
I've heard about it like a lot, but almost makes me want to work with it, but I don't really have a reason to.
You don't have a reason not to.
Working with English elm recently.
English elm?
Yeah.
It's a bit more proper.
A bit more proper.
Likes tea.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to hear what you guys have been up to while I have been busy working my tail off.
Colton, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Hey, so it's not so much what I've been up to, but I had a really funny realization the other day. I don't know. I think it was early in the morning, or we were getting ready to go somewhere actually. And Crystal was putting her makeup on, and I was, I think I started asking questions about some of it, and she literally called like one of her like ointment things, potions. She called it a primer. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, cause, I heard a joke before about someone saying that like, women treat their faces like an old table, right? They just sand it down, exfoliate, if you will. And, keep it pretty. But we started going through all the different stuff that she does. And I was like, this sounds way too much like woodworking. And it was so funny. So, I mean, first off, like on the regular, you moisturize, right?
Yep.
Like you get the right moisture content in your wood, when it comes to woodworking, originally like off the bat, you kiln it, you get rid of the moisture, but you also, you don't want it too dry and all that. But, and then, I had something with concealer. I think concealer was more like staining. And then
concealer is more like your primer.
The concealer's more the primer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they have actually, so like, you get red bumps. There is like stuff, and it's green because green is a contrasting color to red. And so it helps hide blemishes.
Yeah.
So.
And then like literally she puts a primer on before she puts her initial stain on, if you will, or powders finishes and whatever. And all this, it was like, that's like the same thing as woodworking.
Matte finish.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. It, especially when you're doing like touch-ups, like on a piece, right? Like, which I do a lot of now with the furniture repair. And I thought it was kind of neat. But
so my wife does her nails sometimes, and she was having problems with like things getting to stick and stuff like that. And I was like, look, I know paint. Give me your nails. So like I prepped them, and I like sanded with like 2 different grits, and I got like all the ridges, and then we washed, and then we let them dry, and then I wiped them with alcohol. And then she did without touching, like made sure her hands were clean, and then put them on without getting any body oils on it or anything. And they lasted like 2 weeks, a lot longer than they normally do. And I was like, see, so now of course I have to do it all the time, but she just, girls don't like, not everybody knows about all that different stuff about bonding and primers and paints and all that different stuff.
Some girls know
but
about bondage.
This is true. I just saw an SVU episode about that. Yeah.
I bet you did.
I did. Ice-T told me about it. But yes, it was. It is a lot of that stuff in these worlds is the same. Cars, woodworking, makeup, stuff in your house, walls.
So, speaking. Go ahead.
I got some other news too. I got two other things. One of them's kind of big news, or it's exciting news, more of an announcement, I guess, is in a weird way. So Crystal is going to Maker Camp with me.
Oh wow!
Whoa!
Yeah, dude. Whoa. I can't freaking wait. Like it's what was it? I was buying my tickets after a few podcasts ago, and like she came home. She had like a work function, and she came home and. Sorry, she just came and distracted me, actually. Weird timing. She came out and we bought tickets together. I was like, you want to go to New York with me? And she's like, hell yeah. So we're going to go a day early, spend the night in New York City. I'm open to suggestions on what to do there. I've never seen the Statue of Liberty.
I have a lot of suggestions. We will talk offline.
Oh, sounds great. And yeah, or if anyone wants to write in a suggestion, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna go New York City, do that, go to Maker Camp, do all that, and we're actually gonna rent a car and then probably sleep in the car. Like I was trying to find something that had big enough backseat we could do an air mattress in, and I think, so
that's not the worst idea.
I'm stoked. Which I like, after the initial excitement, I was like, oh, did I mess up? Like, is this gonna? Am I gonna have to base her through this? But no, I think she's gonna do great. I can't wait. But yeah, so she's coming with me to Maker Camp.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I got some really funny ideas. I think I'm not gonna tell y'all until after it's done about y'all and Maker Camp.
When is Maker Camp? When do you leave for that?
Oh, I think it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yep.
So for those of you who are listening to this podcast and you wanted to potentially jump on last minute, it is next week. So you have 1 week to get a last minute ticket to make sure everything is ready to go. If you want to come out to Maker Camp, once again, it is outside of Albany, New York at Jimmy DeResta's farm. Yes. Last year, it got very, very waterlogged. So make sure to bring your rain gear. Make sure to bring somewhere to sleep or arrange with some other friends. But from everybody I have talked to, it is much more about the making rather than the content creation.
Yes, exactly that. And it has all the camaraderie and networking of Workbench Con too.
And hookers.
I didn't see any of those this last time. I tend to be a bit naive though when talking to people. But yeah, no, it's heck yeah, dude. Oh, if there's anyone on the fence right now about it and could be convinced last week, I say 110% do it. Like you'll never regret it ever. It's impossible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we leave for that next Thursday.
Unless you die of alcohol poisoning, then you might regret it.
Yeah.
But you won't like to regret it.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah.
Or exposure. You could die of exposure.
Something like that. But yeah, so that's next week. And yeah, man, I'm stoked.
Okay.
So
yeah, I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I want. What karaoke song are you doing this year?
So I really wanted to do Pepas, but I don't think it's gonna be ready because I've been learning Spanish, right? And I found that a really great way to learn Spanish as far as like your pacing and like saying things right is to try to learn a song in it.
Okay.
And so,
what about "Caress Me Down" by Sublime?
Maybe
half of it's in Spanish. I've been told it's pretty vulgar, but half of it's in Spanish.
Live in La Vida Loca.
Yeah. But no, so pepas. It's like pepas y aguas para secas del mundo en Castilla en la discoteca. I bet you'd recognize it if you could hear it.
That is not un popular in my area.
No bueno.
Aquí.
I told you. I think you might recognize it if you heard it. But yeah. So I was wanting to do a song like that, but I don't know. Me and Braden Boakes with another Woodshop podcast are talking about doing a duet. I'm not going to ruin the surprise yet on that.
Can you feel the love tonight?
That's actually a really good idea.
You're welcome.
I like that. I'm going to write that down. Can you feel? Nope, that's not it. But yeah, something like that. No, we were doing more of a fast pace, get everyone going kind of song.
Yes.
But it's going to be a good one.
Okay. I like it.
Ross, it. What do you got going on, man?
It has been one of the most productive weeks I think I've had building and woodworking wise in a while. As I said before, I had been on the road like 14 weeks in a row, so I hadn't gotten a whole lot done. This past week, I not only started, built, and completed and delivered a project for my wife she'd been asking for a while. It was the behind the couch console, and it literally fit like a glove. I was surprised myself as to like how well it perfectly measured up behind the couch. There's outlets in there. I did all the electrical for it. I ended up doing 2 or 3 projects in the shop that were just a little like, hey, I've been meaning to do this for a while. Some of it was electrical, like changing out some shop lights. Some of it was updating some like just some small pieces around the shop, like redoing countertops here and there for spoil boards and things like that. But then on top of it, in my house, we initially were going to work with I'm having a brain fart right now.
That's all good, bro.
The 2 boys we met, the creeper woodworker, and it's Matt and Mark.
Streamline.
Streamline. There we go. Yeah.
Sorry. And I apologize to you boys. If you're listening.
No, I get it, dude. Yeah.
I use their tape measure they sent me every day.
Yeah. So Matt had come out to my house and we had taken measurements on everything, and both of us got really busy, and unfortunately we never like reconnected on everything. So I've just started kind of going forward with what I can do. So I had already opened up one of the walls between my kitchen and the dining room, and I decided it was time to take out my 1975 oven range hood vent, take that out, and it was all drywalled in because it was super old. It hadn't really worked in a while, and it was covered in grease because it's 50 years old at this point, or 47. So I got that all out. I redid all the drywall. I actually had to also then take out the drop ceiling that was the original drop ceiling in our kitchen. I had to put all the electrical that I had done, all the lights, had to do all the wiring up above the drywall that was already there. I had kind of just run it before with some coax cable. So I had to redo all that. So that got up above everything. Everything is tucked up now. The drywall, other than one spot, is all perfectly done. The new range hood is in. I have one more big project I got to do this coming weekend, tearing out 2 doorways and making a half wall between the kitchen and our stairway to the basement. But I'm just kind of pounding through projects left and right, and my attention to detail from the woodworking has paid off really well. And I got into the shop yesterday on Monday, and I was like, what project should I work on? I'm leaving town tomorrow, but I was like, what can I do in a few days? And I started working on, again, the spalted maple table that I started 3 years ago at this point. And right now it's basically just a storage inventory place for all my whiskey for Old Elk. But I decided it was time for that to be done. So today, or yesterday and today, I not only redid all the epoxy because I had put in some bad epoxy mismeasured like 6 months ago on one of the legs, and it was still like soft and gooey to the touch 6 months later, which tells you I really, really mismeasured that.
Correct.
But I put in the right levels and got the clear coat on there today. That's curing right now. And then I also cut all the joinery for the trestle that'll go across the entire table. I was just refining that at the end of today, but I've been doing a lot of like hand cut Japanese joinery for that, and it's made me super happy. So I am just kind of plugging away at stuff, and I hope to have that table basically built by next week, and I can start finishing. So if anybody out there in podcast land wants to buy an 8 to 10 person dining room table / conference room table that's made out of spalted maple, hit me up because it'll be ready very soon.
Nice. What are you going to finish it with? Like a lacquer?
So I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think in all honesty, I'm going to go with what has worked for a while for me. So I'm going to do the walrus oil just to bring out the initial color. I'm going to do the Halcyon clear on top of that just for protection.
Yes, yeah.
And then on top of it, I'm going to do the ceramic coat.
Yeah, Halcyon and ceramic coat. Good Lord.
Yeah.
What kind of finish? What kind of sheen is that on the ceramic coat?
So the Halcyon leaves like a semi-gloss, kind of a matte feel on there, and the ceramic coat buffs it up like 0.5 in that shine level. So it's nothing too wild and crazy, but
that sounds like satin, isn't it?
It depends which one you get, but like yes.
Oh, okay.
If it buffs it up, so it's basically like a satin.
Yeah, maybe a little bit satin plus, if you will.
But you wanted a little shiny.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's great.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that, and yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Dude,
Getting a whole lot of
I can't wait
stuff
to see
done.
it.
Yeah.
It's so odd to me that you can put water-based polyurethane over oil.
Well, the thing is the walrus oil, because it's not a true oil, it's because it's all vegan based, whatever.
Okay.
It's more like coconut oil kind of stuff than it is like
beeswax.
Yeah, it's more.
You don't have any problems with it.
No,
especially as high as you sand it. What are you gonna sand it? 10,000 grit.
So I actually have the top sanded to like 1,500 grit right now.
Do you really?
No,
I do.
Yeah, but Halcyon, you think it's gonna stick? I guess it'll soak in.
Yeah, it'll soak in. So
you trying to make it like a shuffleboard table? Like you
much.
throw someone a beer across the table and it just goes the whole way?
Like people are going to go to put their plates on it, and if the table's on level at all, they're just everything's going to slide off.
That's right.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
have you guys
that, but
like, have you ever waxed your car and then like set the wax on the thing
and it
slides? That's like the most amazing feeling.
Have you guys seen the Japanese game show where they tilt the room and people are sitting at a table and somebody has to come serve them when the room is at 45 degrees and they're not supposed to spill anything? It's absolutely hilarious. I'll send you guys a link.
I think I've seen some.
On a side note,
I
would like to hear from some people that have put ceramic coat stuff on their car. Not necessarily like the $150 bottle, like you got to put it on with little sponge stuff.
I do ceramic coat on mine.
What do you use?
So I use, first and foremost, whenever you're going to do a ceramic coating, you got to clay bar your car. So
mine's new, so I don't have to do that.
Well, either way, so you use the Meguiar's clay bar system to then take it down. And then it is the Cerakote, the Turtle Wax Cerakote.
Oh, okay.
And
because there's a company called Cerakote.
Yes.
With KOTE.
Yes.
That you spray on there.
So the Turtle Wax version of it works unbelievably well. I will say, when you first do it, you need like the small applicator pad, and you need to come back right behind it with a buffing rag. Otherwise, it can leave streaks in the paint, like kind of what looks like streaks in the sun. But the biggest thing is, if you can in any way, do it when it's not in direct sunlight.
Yeah, of course. Well, how long does it last, you think?
I do it once, maybe twice a year, and the only reason I do it twice a year is because of the salt we get on the roads in the winter.
So I've always waxed my cars, and McGuire's or Mother's is usually what I use, and now they got the graphene and the ceramic coat and stuff like that, and it's getting better and better. Really, the best stuff you can put as far as ceramic coat is like this. You just put it on with like a little applicator.
Yeah.
Just like wipe it on.
Yep.
That's it. Right. But I ain't got that kind of time. And that's like more of a paint sealant than it is.
Yeah.
It's like what you're doing to that table. Right.
Yep.
But I watched this guy and he put 30 different kinds of ceramic coat on a hood and let it sit out for 18 months. Washed it, like 20 times and stuff. And the only one that survived was one of those kind.
Yeah.
But there was several others that did pretty good. And there's a company called Cerakote, and it did okay. I did it. I mean, for the price and as easy it is to put on, some of them kind of leave almost like an oiliness to them.
Yeah.
And you really have to work it to get it off. And those tend to last really well. But
I'm trying to see if I can find.
You say you got to work it to get it off?
You got to work it to get it off.
Working it.
Put a shine on it.
So yeah, I use the Turtle Wax Hybrid Solution ceramic spray.
Yeah. The last time I had this old trailer that I bought, and it was real dull, and I put the hybrid McGuire's ceramic coat stuff on it, and it made it shine. And it shined till the day I got rid of it. I never did it again.
So are your car seats leather or?
Oh,
cloth?
No, I got cloth.
Okay.
I'm so happy with the cloth. I hate leather.
Okay.
I had leather in the last one, and it's
too hot.
Yeah, my legs stick to it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the buffing and making it shine.
We're talking about finger camp now?
We are working on, in the shop right now, a very high-end table, which, a lot of stuff we do is nice, right? And but this one was like exceptionally nice, and they wanted a gloss finish on it.
Ooh!
And it's a giant table, lots of marquetry, primarily mahogany with the typical like ebony band.
Is this like a King Louis era Victorian style massive dining table? Like super ornate at
this point.
Is there like a lot of ornate like gold leaf?
No, there's not gold in it, but it does have like the kind of the swoopy leg that comes down to where it's a claw grabbing a ball.
Okay,
right
cool.
At the bottom.
Yep.
Right.
Is it a bowling ball?
No, it's more like a size of like a little bit like a big racquetball, I guess.
So it's blue.
No, it's wood colored. It's made of wood. So, but I'm just kidding.
Where do they find wood racquetball?
But first off, we stripped this table down to nothing, right?
Okay.
Or like we stripped it down to like no added color, just the wood color, and it looks so beautiful. And then of course we have to make it to match the china cabinets, which we're also doing, and they wanted them so dark, and it covered up so much of it. Now, and like at first, I was just like my heart was sunk because we sprayed on the stain for this one, right? And so we actually sprayed the stain on, and I was so heartbroken. It got so dark, but then we started applying this gloss lacquer, right?
Yep.
And 90% of the time, we're spraying a satin lacquer, but we did this gloss lacquer, which gloss is the biggest pain in the butt I've ever had to deal with.
Don't you have to use polishing compound at the end and all that?
Yes, that's the stage we're at right now. Sorry, that's what got me on with the buffing, talking about the cars. And so we have put so many layers of this lacquer on. I'm like, Rick, we're still spraying
like
this
20,
table?
right?
And not quite that much. And that also depends on what lacquer you're using, right?
Correct.
And our lacquer is a very hard lacquer, and you can overlayer it. But yeah, like we've just sprayed so many. And another crazy thing we actually did a satin layer, very intentionally, a satin layer in kind of the middle of all of these gloss layers, right? But we're also spraying it to the point where we're trying to lose all grain texture, right? And right, so we'll spray it real big and fat, maybe 2 layers, and then like sand it down and some more, and then sand it down. And and on one of the final layers, I actually made a big F up on this table. And so we came back. We had like these special dye compounds. Like it's like a stain dye compound, and there were some spots just to like touch up, right? And you have to stain it first, right? So it's a little bit hazy. And I thought this dye wasn't going to work, right? I thought it was going to be too light. And then, so I applied the dye to these very few spots just to like cover up part of the like grain. And then we sprayed the next layer, and you can see it. It looks like I spilled coffee on the table on these few spots. Exactly. And my heart just dropped. I was like, Rick, that's my mess up, man. And I'm like, what do? Do we sand through this? Do we sand through these layers and just like lose it? And he's like, no, it's just digging a hole. Yep. And so he was able to come through and with like a combination of lighter colors and darker, like bring it into the grain of
feather it in
these few spots. Yeah. Wow. And which when I say spot, I mean smaller than your pinky nail, right?
Okay.
However, like we're going balls to the wall on this table. And but yeah, so now we've built it up, and like, the last few layers were gloss of this gloss lacquer, and we're on the buffing stage. And we for our buffing, we like you got your big buffer and you're using compounds, but we're still pretty high up on the compounds, right? So at this point it's lost its sheen and ready to move on up. I don't know if it's like 1,500 right now.
You're doing like cutting compounds?
Yeah, like a lot of the 3M stuff.
You're going to have to get up to like probably 8,000 to 10,000 to get that high gloss.
Yeah, I think we're actually going higher than that. But
nice.
I don't know. Is there higher than that? I think
you can go up to like 30,000.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our stuff goes like 20 maybe. But I don't know. It I just know you grab this one next at this point. But yeah, so that one's pretty exciting because a lot of our stuff, we do like a nice satin finish on it, right? Yep. And it's nice. Not to say that it's not nice, but like it's not like the super quality of this table. And it's been really cool to do like a super quality table. And,
nice, man.
Yeah, it's neat.
So not to change subject, but on that same note,
yeah, I'm done. Yeah,
I did that double queen bed. I don't know if I told you guys about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double. It's a queen, two queens together. So a headboard and a footboard. And
yes, queen.
Yes, 120 by 80.
Wait, is this the one that it was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory grandparents? Like everybody's in one bed?
No, that was the Alaskan King. That was somebody else. No. And I asked them to pick a color, and so they wanted like something with black. And so I did some stains, I did some washes, I made some samples, and then I did one that was just like black, like just painted with black paint.
Yeah.
And they're like, we like that one. And I'm like, great. I'm glad I made it all out of white oak. So you can see the oak grain through it.
Yep.
So which was good though, because before I had most of it built, I still had a lot of parts left to make. They made that decision, so I had some red oak that was still sitting around from something else.
Yep.
So I'm not going to use that for anything else. So I got to use that, and we sprayed it with black today, and it looks so stinking good. That oak grain through the black, it's just fantastic.
Wait, how are you spraying the black? I'm sorry if I missed that.
How am I spraying it?
HVLP gun.
I put it in a Windex bottle, and I just.
No, I'm saying like I wasn't saying how. I'm saying what are you spraying?
Oh, like, just paint. And they wanted eggshell finish.
Oh, so it's an like actual paint.
Actual paint.
You ever worked with any like dyed lacquers?
No, because I don't want to have to deal with cleaning the gun out, and I don't want to have to deal with all that, and not to mention like the masks, and it's flammable and like all that other stuff. This is just paint. It's high grade, scuff resistant paint, and it's black.
Nice.
It covers absolutely. So spray it once, sand it, spray it again, and it's done. It'll last them forever, and I can touch it up if they ever.
Yeah.
I would like to get into lacquers though, because I know it is a really good finish. It is a really good finish. Maybe one day. I don't know if our business is going in the furniture direction much anymore. Anyway, it's all been about cabinets and built-ins lately. Everything's painted.
Yeah, I'd save it for the. I was saving it for the nuggets, but yeah, black and white lacquer, like dyed lacquers, will make a fool out of any woodworker. Or it can.
White
lacquer cabinets and like black lacquer doors. I've seen some do some really high end stuff where they polish the black lacquer doors, and that's like in real high end homes.
We had both a black project and a white project, like almost at the same time.
I don't see.
And anytime we had to spray one of them, we moved like the other, like whether it was the black or the white, way out of the room.
Right.
Like you don't want a single speck on it. Like, yeah, it was.
Those
were humbling.
Black or white.
I mean, a lot of those kitchen remodels that they do in house, where they tape everything off, they use like white catalyzed lacquer.
Yeah.
You know, and it dries real fast. And they can sand it like that same day and wipe it down and spray it again, and it looks so good and it's so durable, it's so hard. Lacquer dries so much harder than everything.
Dude, we actually had we had like the set of dressers, but it was like a dresser where like each layer is broken into pieces, right? So like once they're stacked on top of each other, like so there's 3 layers, and something was going freaking wrong with them, man, and like we thought like, oh yeah, we'll just get a white lacquer and spray it. And then no, it wasn't curing. There was something underneath it that was not compatible with lacquer.
It's like plastic or something.
Yes. And we ended up like peeling off this plastic, kind of like when you get a bad sunburn and you peel off your skin. It's the same thing.
Like a coating.
And it was so terrible. Dude, lacquer is something that's like, oh, I love it when it goes great. It's like, why don't we do this for everything? And then when there's just one little thing wrong, it gets picky, and it's like just ruins the whole thing. Like, oh, you got too close to some silicone. Like someone sprayed WD-40 in the last day and a half in the shop, and we're not going to stick right. You know, it's just like, oh, dude, lacquer's a love-hate relationship for me right now, but especially on the white. So we actually had to go to a lacquer primer. I've never used that before. And on the white pieces, so we end up having to cover it with a few layers of this lacquer primer, and end up working out really well. But it was a pain in the beehole.
I actually wanted to ask Jess, do you have a question for me? Better get on out that knowledge, because it's trivia time.
All right, so this week's woodworking trivia is what I have been surrounded by, and it feels like
feces
now probably
and salt water.
For the next it would be rednecks.
Oh.
No, it's what I'm probably going to be surrounded by for at least the next 2 years constantly is cabinets. So, I don't know. Ross, you were talking about buying some and me helping you get some.
Yep.
So we'll still do that. And Colton, I don't know how much you talked about making your own on the CNC. So we're going to test your knowledge of the terminology, parts, different types of cabinets.
Let's do it.
Some of it I've already got written, and some of it I've thought of while I was just sitting here. We're going to see what you know. And this is just everyday cabinetry. Kitchen cabinets, bathroom
cabinetry.
What is a cabinet door?
Right. What is a cabinet door? All right. First question. This will be for you, Colton. Some of these are easy. I don't know what you know, so we'll see. But I know that our guests will like this. Our listeners.
All right.
What is edge banding?
It's a veneer you put on the edge end grain of wood, or end and side grain of plywood.
That'll work. Yeah, or MDF. You can use it on the side of MDF. Anything you're trying to cover up the edge. They even make edge banding that looks like end grain, if you can believe that. On like
really?
Crap. Yeah. And some of the really, really high end gloss.
I bet you that stuff would break really easy.
That are like core color. They have edge banding that looks like real wood, but it's high gloss for like European style cabinets. Very, very expensive stuff, and scratch resistant. All right, moving on.
Nice.
Ross, what you want? Let me know if you want multiple choice. What is a face frame in cabinet construction?
The face frame is the part that holds the body of the cabinet together and holds the hinges for your drawers and doors.
Right. So that is correct. Yeah, it's basically the structure that's on the front. Yeah, that holds the doors up. Very good. And face frames come in different widths. Just depends on the cabinet. Most of the time nowadays with a shaker, they're about 1.5 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, question number 3. What distinguishes European hinges from traditional hinges, Colton?
European hinges are on the inside. You can give me multiple choice if that's halfway.
I think that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
European hinges are popular in modern cabinetry because of their concealed nature.
Yep.
There
Clean,
we go.
streamlined look without visible hardware. Right. All right. So, bonus question, Colton. How many millimeters is a European cup hinge hole?
Oh, 5.
That is incorrect. Ross, would you like to go? For the cup for the
30 millimeter.
That is also incorrect. It is 35 millimeters or 1 inch and 3/8.
$1, Bob.
So if you combine our answers together, we each get half a point. So
you're almost close.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready, Colton?
I think it goes to me.
This is Ross.
What? I know. I was just wanting to know if you knew Ross was ready. Ross.
Yeah.
What is cabinet overlay?
Cabinet overlay.
What is the overlay? If we're talking about cabinets, what's the overlay? If I said it was 1.25 inch overlay, or I said it was full overlay.
Oh, that would be how much the face frame comes in from the sidewall of the cabinet to the amount of space your hinge has to clear to open the door.
Incorrect.
Oh.
The overlay.
That sounds like a really good guess.
Cabinet overlay is how much the door overlays either the frame or the face frame.
That's close.
So it could overlay a 1/2 inch, it could overlay 3/4, it could overlay 1.25 inches, which is what we use a lot. It can even overlay as much as 1.5 inches. This is where people get confused. So a full overlay door is actually 3/4 overlay.
Is
generally.
it? What happens if the door is flush?
If the door is flush, you mean inset?
I don't know, Jess.
If the door is inside of the face frame, then that's called an inset door.
It'd be zero
So
overlay,
there
right?
is zero overlay. Yes.
Okay.
So you're talking how much the actual door sticks out on top of the face frame?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to have a face frame because a frameless cabinet, they call that full overlay because it overlays the thickness of the cabinet, which is usually 3/4. Right? So it's like all doors and drawer fronts. You don't see any.
This is the part that I call dumb.
So, well, it's interesting because when I was a handyman, I get a lot of people that would want to replace their hinges because they're rusted or they want soft close, and they'd buy the wrong hinges because they didn't understand. And it's not how much it overlays at the top or the bottom or on the handle side. It's how much it overlays on
the hinge side.
The hinge side, correct.
You're like, oh, don't worry. I saved you so much money. I bought these on Temu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would okay, those are 1.25 inch overlay. And I just go buy 1.25 inch overlay and change all the hinges out. It's very simple.
Ross, you still been shopping on Temu, by the way?
Yeah, I have a fun story about that later.
Okay, later. Okay.
Colton.
My turn.
All right, I'm going to give you 4 choices. What material is typically used in some cabinet carcasses? Is it solid hardwood, MDF or plywood, metal sheeting, or plastic composites? What material is typically used for cabinet carcasses? Is it solid hardwood, MDF or plywood, metal sheeting, or plastic composites?
Oh, I mean, MDF or plywood.
That is correct.
So I don't know why I made that so complicated. I was like,
for our listeners, the carcass is the box. It's the box that the cabinet is made of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use melamine in very cheap cabinets and particle board.
Like IKEA.
Like IKEA. Question number 6. What is the main advantage of using soft close hinges, Ross? Ross? What's the soft close hinge?
Well, number one, it protects the longevity of the cabinet as well as the door because things do not slam together. But it also protects your fingers as well as your children's fingers from getting slammed.
That is right.
And if you want to get a midnight snack, it makes it a little sneakier.
Yes.
Very good.
Sneaky Dickens.
Which I guess people don't really. Yeah, people keep food in cabinets.
Yes. Okay.
Where
so
else are they going to keep it?
Well, never mind. My case is set up different.
Yes, it does. It does increase the life of the cabinet. Very, very true. All right, Colton. We've kind of already answered this. What is the difference between inset and full overlay cabinet doors?
Well, full overlay have no face frame, and inset don't exceed out the face frame. They're inset.
Yeah, that's pretty close. So generally, a full overlay cabinet would have like a 3/4 box and 3/4 plywood sides, and it would overlay 3/4 of an inch. Some people use 1/2 inch to give them a little. And then inset usually has a face frame, and the door sits inside of the face frame. Very expensive type of cabinet. Hard to make. Moving on. Ross, I know you know this. Where is a dovetail joint commonly used in cabinet making?
On the drawers between the long and the cross grains.
That is right. It is used on the drawer boxes. Very, very good. That is the true hallmark of a high-quality cabinet, if it has dovetail drawers.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I make my cabinets out of that.
All right.
No,
Coco,
a lot of box joints, too.
What? Yeah, I like box joints. What is the purpose and what is a toe kick?
Oh, a toe kick keeps the drawer from going too far in.
That is incorrect.
Ow.
Would you like to steal, Ross?
I would. The toe kick is the area on the base of the cabinet that is inset from the face frame, and it is usually so you can stand closer to the cabinet while working at the counter.
That is correct. That is exactly
very well. Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Usually, a toe kick is between 4 and 4.5 inches high and about 3.5 to 4 inches deep.
So your toe don't kick the cabinet.
Commercial ones are a little deeper and a little higher, usually 5.
Hey, Ross, that ties us up, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
All right.
All right, let's get it.
All right, Ross, what is a shaker-style cabinet?
A shaker-style cabinet has, I'm trying to think of how to describe it.
Basically the doors.
Yeah, it is the doors, and they have an exterior frame and an inset panel in that door.
Yes, that is correct. So basically, shaker cabinets are very minimalist looking, just a square frame on the front. Sometimes it has a little detail, but for the most part, very minimalistic look. That's what everybody's buying now. Shaker.
Yep.
Crystal wants shaker cabinets. We want shaker.
All of the cabinets that we have are shaker in some way or another. They have a little detail, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on. A few more here. All right, this is a good question.
All right.
I don't know whose turn it is.
Colton.
It's my turn.
What is a key feature of the frameless cabinets that we've been talking about? Why would you want frameless cabinets instead of face frame cabinets?
Frameless? Is there a good multiple choice for this? I mean...
Sure, absolutely. Is it a visible hinges, thicker face frames, full access to the cabinet interior, or only available in solid wood?
What was B?
Thicker face frames. This is the key feature of frameless cabinets.
Frame. Oh, I pass. I give up. I don't know. I'm never gonna guess.
Ross?
Full access to the cabinet interior.
Right. You see a lot of frameless cabinets in garages and stuff like that, but there's no face frame to get in your way, so it's just an open box, and you can get to all of it. There's no face frame.
Interior. That makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I didn't know.
And if you like the look of like just door to door, drawer to drawer, no face frame, and it's just all that, It does look nice. It's very hard to install. Very hard to install.
If you ever look up Italian cabinets, most Italian modern cabinets are all full access, frameless, and no hardware either. It's literally just a door.
Pretty much like all of those IKEA and those European cabinets now, slab front or otherwise, frameless. Just a box, and then it's all very, very tight. 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch in between.
Toit like a tiger.
It's a pain in the butt, is what it is.
This one's coming to me.
What type of wood is often used for cabinet doors and face frames in more higher end, we're going to say, cabinets?
Maple.
Is it, well, I'll give you a multiple choice on this one. Is it particle board, solid hardwood like maple or oak, plywood, or MDF?
Well, hold on.
I said higher end.
But
cabinet doors and face frames.
So if you are going for a wood grain look other than maple, high-end cabinets are always done out of solid hardwood. However, there are also very high-end cabinets that are done in MDF on a CNC that then get like an enamel finish and are super, super high-end, but they are all out of MDF.
This is true.
What's your answer?
Solid hardwood would be my choice.
Yeah, solid hardwood is correct.
There we go.
There's a company that came by me, and all they do is make panels, and they got this stuff, and he like took it outside, and it's the gloss on it is like as high gloss as you can imagine. And he like takes his car keys and he like scratches it, doesn't scratch. And he's like, we can make you door fronts out of this, and we have the edge banding and everything. And I'm like, that is pretty sweet, man.
That's a heck of a sales pitch.
I don't know how much it costs, but all they do is make
one of those
panel.
zero static rooms and all that.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable stuff. Okay, moving on. A couple more here.
Colton.
What are filler strips used for in cabinetry?
This one.
A filler strip.
I just put some in this yesterday.
Filler strip. Well, I'll take a multiple choice on this one.
Okay. Is it to fill gaps between cabinets and walls, to strengthen cabinet doors, as decorative accent on cabinet doors, or to mount cabinets to the floor?
I'm going to go with alpha.
That is correct.
All
it
right.
is to fill the gaps, right? It doesn't always land on exactly the right mark. You can also use it to scribe crooked walls, which I did with a washer for the first time. I've never done it with a washer, but that's all I had, and I scribed something with a washer. It's pretty easy.
I actually have a, it's called the U-Scribe, or U-Scribe It kit. And for doing scribing on like built-ins and cabinets, it is awesome. Like it's even got these like insets that you can put on to like hold everything in place, whether it's a full panel or just a small piece, and it clips on to the existing cabinet or face frame and then holds everything perfectly so that you can scribe perfectly. It's awesome.
Really?
Okay. All right. Very good.
But I did see a reel once about the washer method, though.
It does work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as the gap you're trying to fill is only as thick as that washer sidewall.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to learn a new word today that I did not know. I looked this up and it is true. This is one thing that they call it. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. What is the main purpose of cabinet gables?
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Let me give you
okay.
Choice. All right. Is it A, to support cabinet shelves, B, to conceal the side of the cabinet that faces outward, C, to protect the cabinet from water damage, or D, to connect cabinets to each other?
I'm going to go with Bravo, to cover the side of the cabinets.
That is right. I always just called it a decorative panel, but it is called a gable. A cabinet
Nailed
gable.
it.
Nailed
So
it.
usually it looks like the door, and then it goes on the side to cover up just the blank side. Very good. And I guess you could consider a painted side cabinet, like if it's painted the same color, also a cabinet.
Yeah.
All right, one more. How about that?
All right. Go ahead for Colton.
Colton, what does RTA stand for in cabinetry? RTA.
Real tight ass. No. sorry.
I was thinking real tough ass, but never mind. Oh, you get a multiple choice on this one?
Yes, but I'm not going to give it to you. Yes, it is. Is it reinforced timber assembly, resilient timber application, recycled timber assembly, or ready to assemble?
Oh, ready to assemble.
Ready to assemble. That is right. So all of these cabinets, like that we buy, like sometimes are flat packed. That's what people call them. Those are RTA cabinets.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right, you guys did
Ross,
great.
You stole the show there, bud. Yeah, you got quite the lead there. That was a good trivia.
I mean,
Thanks,
I only beat you by 2, so
I know. So when I first started doing this, like I didn't understand like the whole face frame frameless thing. Like I made a lot of my stuff frameless, and I didn't understand like the overlay thing. And as time has gone on, now obviously I do. But, I would go to get cabinet and it would say full overlay. It doesn't say 3/4 overlay. It doesn't say frameless. It just says full overlay hinges. Like if you go to Lowe's and you buy a full overlay hinge, that's for a frameless cabinet that overlays 3/4 of an inch. That's just what they call it. Full overlay. And so and they make everything. Inch, 3/4, 5/8. They make anything. It all just depends on the style. But so I thought it would be interesting to kind of educate our listeners.
Yeah. Dude, and also, I know y'all really recommended against it, but for the learning side of it, I am going to build our own cabinets.
Go for it.
And just to know the struggle of it and to try to understand the intricacies better.
I highly suggest that you do not do that, but you go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I second that notion.
Yeah, do not. You will not make it.
Try
just doing flat.
So Colton,
challenge accepted.
Colton, let me preface this and say, if you wanted to do some cabinets and try and learn the process, just try and build like 2 cabinets for like upper cabinets or like a set of cabinets for your shop. Just some basic cabinets.
Which I've done like some pseudo cabinets. I wouldn't call it like I was doing cabinetry.
No. I would try out building drawers. Yes. Build like a decent cabinet setup for your shop to get the process down, because you don't want to do your first time trying it for your high-end kitchen.
Are you going to do shaker?
Yeah.
Like a British nanny?
It's just hard.
We may even buy the doors. Like even cabinet shops buy their own doors. Like they outsource that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Go to the Philippines or something like that?
Yeah. There's people in town that all they do.
Oh, really?
CabinetDoorFactory.com. They're 30% off right now.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear there's some local manufacturing, or local as far as country, but yeah.
Yeah, it's right here in the U.S.
Nice.
How about that? I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
The whiskey of the week. The whiskey of the week coming into this week was the Oak and Eden Toasted Oak. Colton, I know it's sold in your area. Were you able to procure it, and did it dandy?
So I got Oak and Eden, and I got something that starts with a T and ends in oak, but it wasn't the toasted oak.
Okay.
It was I got the torched oak.
Okay.
Which is
just a heavier char level.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And that also makes sense because there's this little floating wood thing in there, right?
So
like the little spiral, like
spires,
like
is what they literally call them. So Oak and Eden's whole thing, their whole shtick, is the whiskey inside is good, but then they put these pieces of wood that are finished in another way, whether it's a toasted piece of oak or torched piece of oak, so almost like charred. They do finished something that's like port cask or wine finish or whatever it is, and they literally drop it in the bottle, and as it's sitting in there, it's supposed to add some flavor profile to the whiskey. So the torched oak, what were your thoughts?
So this is the torched oak 4-grain and spire, right? So I ended up slipping into another 4-grain,
okay,
right? And my biggest baseline for a 4-grain is the Old Elk 4-grain, right? Which the Old Elk 4-grain, like outside of their rye, is my favorite Old Elk. Like that thing, it gets up and goes. Which it's coming in hot.
Yeah.
What's the what proof?
The Old Elk comes in at 105.9 proof.
Yeah, and it's a big bold, and I will say this does remind me of it. It has the same emotion as the Old Elk 4-grain, but it doesn't quite cut the mustard the same way.
Okay,
like this one's definitely softer.
Okay,
like it's even lighter in color than the Old Elk, but yeah, this one. So with the 4-grain, we've learned about all the different what do you call them? Oh, I guess grains. They go in it, right? And like I was trying to pick out, like, is this? Because at first I was like, it's corny. I was like, it's not just corny. Like it's a little malted barley in there. It's a little sweet with the wheat, and then it's got a little touch of the spice of the rye. Like literally, it was just it covered all 4 bases, and it's kind of neat.
Awesome.
And yeah, and so really for me, like tasting this whiskey, it's kind of like I was like some sort of like tenured professor. Right.
Okay.
It's what made me feel like it was just like I was about to give a big speech to like a class of students that had to be there or they're going to fail. Like I don't know. It's good. It's almost like confusing smelling it. It's not confusing, but it's just like an orchestra. It's like everyone's there. And
okay.
I
so
liked it. It was
if you
good.
had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving it?
That's a solid 7.
What, is it smoky?
No. So not smoky. No. Even though it does say torched in the name. I get why you would ask that. But I think that'd be more talking about like the little stick inside of it, right?
Correct.
I just
wondered. Yeah. No, that's a good question.
But strangely enough, when it's torched like that, or they char the inside of the barrels to a level 4, it doesn't give you a smoky characteristic. It may give you like a charred, like a barbecue charcoal type characteristic.
Okay,
but it's not going to be it's not going to be a smoky tone the way we normally think of like forest like fire or campfire or Scotch whiskey. Yeah.
Okay. Got its own like little filter in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, it's a very good one. I wish I would have got the toasted oak, but the liquor store I went to had 3, and they did not. One of those 3 was not the toasted oak. But
okay,
I got excited though. I went the 4-grain.
Awesome.
However, literally, like the shelf right next to it, I did see something goofy. I saw the Old Elk selection they had, which they had 3 Old Elks there. Okay. I think they had the wheated. They had I can't remember the third one they had, but then the first one they had was I think they called it Batch 5, and it was a sour mash.
Yeah, so that is the sour mash whiskey from Old Elk. So that one was technically laid down at the Finger Lakes Distillery in upstate New York. And it's the same mash bill as our standard blended straight whiskey, blended straight bourbon, but done in a sour mash style. And I always tell people that whiskey, because it was done in a sour mash style versus the rest of the Old Elk portfolio, comes at you like a 2-round fight with Mike Tyson. It hits you with everything it's got up front. You don't know what's happening. And then your palate is like lights out. It just disappears from your palate like within 15 seconds, like 10 to 15 seconds. You get hit with everything. You're like, oh my God, what's happening? And then it's gone. It's like a ninja attack. It's wild.
Because also it came in like way below what I expected for Old Elk. At least I think I was looking at the right like price label. It was like under $50. Is that right? No, maybe about 50, 60.
So it should be higher. However, there was some crazy pricing that happened last year in Texas that we can talk about a different time, but that could be where that's sitting at.
Because like normally when I see Old Elk, it's pushing a hundo, pushing 3 digits.
Yep.
And I was really surprised to see that one so low. But yeah, with us talking about sour mash recently, like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious to try it. I would love to try it, but I don't think I want to commit to a whole bottle of it.
Okay.
But,
so I have a question.
Okay.
Unless it's the whiskey week next week, but
is Kentucky Owl straight rye whiskey 10 years small batch any good? Wise Man's Rye. Kentucky Owl.
Kentucky Owl overall, the overall caliber of the whiskey coming out of there is quite good. Some of the various batches that are being pushed out, I haven't tried this one in particular, but some of the batches that are being pushed out to try and backfill the demand are being pushed out before they're ready. However, being that this is a 10-year-old, my guess is it's up to that same higher caliber. So I would say, yes, that would probably fit into that higher tier caliber.
The customer gave it to me. I don't drink it.
Okay.
My neighbor's into owls, so he's been cutting my grass and moving my garbage cans for me, so I gave it to him.
Okay. That should probably be like $150 secondary market bottle.
The lady at the salon
really
gave it to me after we got done with all her stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's pretty. Her husband was into whiskey. She said it was really good.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty penny. People chase that one down. So
I've never heard of Kentucky Owl.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you.
The other one that's pretty sought after is Cream of Kentucky. Also pretty high tier.
It said cream of wheat?
Yes, but Cream of Kentucky.
I can only see the 10 on that.
Yeah, the
really
picture
weird.
is. So Colton, just to let you know, the whiskey of the week going into next week, because I got to recalibrate your palate. Got to get you kind of knowing what your characteristics of each of your grains are. So your whiskey of the week for next week is the Mellow Corn Sweet Corn Whiskey. It is 100% corn whiskey. It's going to run you between 16 to 20 bills. And I am curious to hear your thoughts to truly, because you were starting to say, I was trying to pick out, is that all corn? Is that wheat? What it like? This will help you pinpoint what those flavors are.
You know, it's ridiculous.
What?
I heard someone talk about this whiskey. I've never had it, but I've heard someone talk about this whiskey within the last week.
There you go.
Like, and because it's this one's like 90% of the mash bill, or 80 is corn. No,
I think it's 100%.
I think it had a little bit of wheat.
Let me double check.
A touch. I very well could be wrong, but I literally heard someone talk about this mellow corn in the last week.
Sorry, at least 80%.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
that I can't wait.
Yeah, so this will help you decipher what that is.
Ha ha. Hell yeah! No, I can't wait.
All right. So I think it is time to start heading down to the world of Snuggets. So Jess, you get to hear your debut.
Oh boy.
Nuggets and Snuggets. Oh, nailed it! I think you nailed it. What's your take, Jess? What do you think?
I think that's pretty good.
I think it's a keeper, dude. I think it's a keeper, dude. Woo!
All right.
So, do you guys have a nugget or a snipe? If not, I can go if you'd like.
I would say for somebody doing a modern style house, where extremely modern, like you're doing a lot of blacks and whites and like things like that. A satin or eggshell over oak is one of black, painted black. I know it sucks using oak and painting it, but it is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful finish. It's very modern. I mean, it's extremely modern. I mean, I just literally bought laminate that looked like that for a bar top, and it looks just not as nice actually as the real oak, but even the oak plywood and stuff like
that is a good nugget, man. Like,
it is gorgeous. It is just beautiful,
right? Normally the take is like, oh, if you're gonna paint it, use poplar, right? Or at least for me. But let that grain show.
And we made sure we didn't sand it to a real high grit. We sanded to 150 and stopped because I didn't want to make it smooth. You know what I mean? I wanted that grain to pop. It'll get sanded with like 320 and 240 as we paint it, but for that original grain pop from the water-based paint, it's just gorgeous. It's just
yeah, really very nice.
And then my other what was something that I was going to say?
I don't know. What was it?
Oh, your cabinets. If you ever install cabinets in your house, for effing sake, shoot a laser and find the high spot first. Shoot a laser or do something and find the high spot in the room and start there. Now, I will say you can only raise your cabinet so high, right? You don't want to be raising your cabinets an inch and a half off the stinking ground and your crown's hit the ceiling or something. But find your high spots anytime you're installing a built-in or anything first before you start and work your way from there, because you can't lower them. You could, I guess you could cut them. You always find your high spots. You know, you get in a rush, you get excited about a certain part that you want to do, and it just seems like you should start at the refrigerator, or it seems like you should start on the left side of your built-in or whatever. But maybe you should check the floor first. Check the floor and find your high spots first. That would have been a really good nugget for myself, because then you might have to take things out and stuff like that.
You're saying check your high spots from the floor.
Yeah, yeah. Like if something you're going to do is installed on the floor, you know,
okay.
and you're trying to get them all level,
if it's
all the way around
on
the room,
floor level. Okay.
Yeah, if you're putting it on the floor, just find your high spots.
So, reversely, if you were going to install cabinets that are like in my kitchen, like all of our base cabinets, I'm not touching. I'm just doing the upper cabinet, which there's a gap in between, right?
Oh.
So they're hanging.
Then you just let that be. You just shoot a laser at 54 inches. If
you don't got to worry about looking for the low spot on the ceiling.
Yes, if your cabinets are going to be that close, yeah.
Okay.
If your cabinets, but usually I like to leave a gap. If you're going to do it where you got if you got crown all the way up to the ceiling and you get it perfect, yeah, then you got to watch that too.
Okay. Good to know. That's a good nugget.
So my nugget, I know it's one that I've used before, but I got to use it again today, and it was too good not to share again for those who may have missed it before, because I believe it was in season 1. My nugget of the week is, if you happen to have overflow epoxy on a piece, you can use a heat gun to heat it up and use a putty knife to just follow up right behind that heat gun and just peel off the excess.
Did I tell you I used it?
You did not tell me you used it.
Remember the coffee table I did with the dovetail legs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's big knots.
Yeah.
I filled them with black epoxy, and I'm like, let's see if this really works. And it just came right off. Mm-hmm. Now I will say, there was bubbles that were impregnated that I didn't know were there.
Okay.
But those kind of went away with the finish. But
it takes off 90% of the work.
99% of the work. You just got to make sure that you don't use a putty knife that's so wide that it dips.
No.
And you've got a really wide berth, right? If anything, you'd want to go the other way.
Yeah, I tend to use a 2-inch. I use a 2-inch putty knife typically, and I do it in small strips, and I take everything off like that. And then most of Colton, to answer your question, what I'm doing or using is tabletop epoxy that I use to fill various voids and such in tables. But I have found taking off the excess epoxy like that allows you to take off the majority, like 95% or more, just with this scraping technique. And then you can come back and sand it, and within 10 minutes you're done. Versus
so Ross, I don't think I told you. I actually added that to part of my procedures for these cornhole boards.
Really?
I'm still slow to do it. Yeah. It so I don't do it across the top of like a where the epoxy is actually casted.
Yeah.
Because at least with my type of tabletop epoxy, it tends to have little tears in it.
Yeah.
And like, so say once you sand it flat, you're still gonna have little bumps, right?
Yep.
That you gotta worry about, or like inlets. But for all the excess, the overflow, it saves my drum sander a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it creates for a better sand on the rest of the board. If I come in and like where it's like very thinly overlaid, like the parts where you heat it up with a heat gun or a blowtorch even.
Yep.
And it just gets to loosen up and you peel that up. Like it's, if I have the time, like it is a great extra step, and it saves me on sandpaper and everything.
See, I see it as a time saver rather than, if I have the time. I would rather take the 5 minutes to get the excess epoxy off and not have to run it through a sander or planer 10 extra times.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like with the drum sander, technically it saves time, but like it's not going to be as great as of a finish. Like there's more potentials for little things to mess up whenever it's having to hog through more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, when you plane it, even if like, like I have a good planer, but the planer tends to want to tear it.
Yep.
I have a good planer and it still wants to tear it. And if you just get some of the excess off and it only has to shave it, then it's much better.
So yeah.
They make when you go to buy putty knives too, they have, you'll see them, it'll say flex and stiff.
Yep.
The stiff one's more like a scraper.
Yep.
Those are really good because they stay straight, so you don't accidentally dip into it too. I love those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my nugget.
That's a good nugget.
I love it. You need to tell it like at least once a month. That it's like, I just don't understand why all these people online are doing all kind of epoxy and nobody does it. No one, not even Blacktail. I've never even seen him do it. He's always doing little stuff.
I don't know. I even showed it to the guys at Total Bolt when we were at Workbench Con this past year. They were like, we've never seen anybody do that, but please tag us in the videos on that because it's brilliant.
Yeah, when you're trying to, like, let's say you've got your big, beautiful Spalta table. Spalta's a little soft, right?
Yep.
And then if you're filling epoxy things in, then you're trying to sand off overflow epoxy, you're going to dig a hole.
You're
going to dig a hole. I don't care how careful you are. And that just saves everything. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out, by the way?
In all honesty, it was because I saw that obviously you use the heat gun to pop some of the bubbles. And I had overflow and I was like, I'm sanding and sanding. I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I was like, the heat gun works to loosen up the bubbles and free it up. Maybe it'll start to do it just enough to like get this off. And it worked like a charm.
Well, when I saw Cam take that one and he had like poured this big giant piece of epoxy, that's all it was.
Yes.
And he set it in the sun.
Yep. And it dipped on its own.
Yeah, just because of the heat, I was like, I wonder if you can. So, yeah, that is like.
Strangely enough, there is a lumber yard or there is a tree company about a mile down the road from me that they also have their own sawmill and they will make tabletops, like epoxy tabletops for people. And they put out an epoxy tabletop as their sign. It's called Goodwood Chicago. And, it was clear epoxy and it sat through the summer sun and that clear epoxy turned hazy and then turned black and it didn't start black. It didn't start to like sag, but because of UV exposure all day, every day, because it's south facing, it literally like you cannot see through it at all anymore.
I think epoxy is such a broad word. Like there's so many things that are epoxy resin.
Yeah.
That
different kinds of epoxy.
You can't just put it all in one category. It's got to have epoxy resin this kind, tabletop or deep pour, or like thin coat, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Colton, do you have a nugget?
Fiberglass boats are epoxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got a nugget.
What you got?
Hey, for anyone looking to take on like a small repair or even like a dyed lacquer finish or anything, black, like just be cautious if it's your first black and white project, black or white project, because there's one thing Rick was telling me. He's like, hey, we have some projects coming up that are we have a black one and a white one, and they're separate customers, and they'll humble the best touch-up artist,
dude,
ever.
White is brutal to work with. Brutal.
Yeah.
And
so
most of the customers that I work with are like, I just want it clean and white. And I'm like, oh, I hate you.
Exactly. Hey, quick funny story on the whites. We were moving furniture in someone's house, right? And luckily this one we had to move out some of her nice antiques, and that's why we were called in. And because your normal movers are going to damage stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we came in and we moved out like some of her like old, I think she has some like old Chinese pieces, and then like her grandfather clock, etc. And whenever we moved it back in, there was a damage on the ceiling at one part of like her upstairs area, and it was getting blamed on us. And I was like, there's not a single piece of furniture that we moved in this area. Long story short, it was either have a fight or fix it. And I decided to fix it. And, it's white. It's a white ceiling. Like, it's going to be hell trying to match it. And I ended up going to her garage, digging through her shelves. And I found, luckily, thank goodness, the painters who had painted her house.
Did they label each can? Well. Awesome.
Yes. And I was able to find like ceiling or whatever. And for the specific room this happened in. And I was able to touch it up and then paint it on site. And
nice.
It played out. But yeah, whites are booger. You got ivory, you got whatever. All the stuff. And
the hard part is any kind of a finish that you want to put on top of a white automatically yellows.
Yes.
And that's the hardest part. Like, that's why so many people go with like the enamel paints, because they don't have to put another finish on top of it.
No, white paint or white epoxy. That's the only thing that's going to stay white. That's a finish coat.
Yep.
White lacquer, but that terrifies me too.
Yeah. So don't be so afraid. I mean, you just clean your gun out with
I'm scared. I'm scared, and I'm going to stay scared of it forever.
It's only scary until you do it. But yes, you should be scared, but you could do it.
Well, gentlemen, I hate to do this, but we are approaching an hour, and we're over an hour and 45 minutes here. So I think it's a good spot for us to cut things off. But we have a lot of great things coming up in the next few episodes. So with that in mind, thank you to everybody for tuning in this week, and we hope you enjoyed every second of this episode. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button wherever you're listening to this podcast. But if you had any complaints about this episode, be sure to hit up our bowling rule enforcing legal representation of Soap Check and Soap Check, where their motto is, are we the only ones who give a shit about the rules around here? We're not taking your turn, dude. We're not buying them a beer. We just don't practice law on Saturday. Shomer Shabbos. For Jess, Colton, and Ross, this has been the Beat Around the Bench podcast, and we will catch you all next time.
Yeah, dude. Woo!